Hi, I'm Bill Sheehy from Latin American Masters in Santa Monica, California. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the work of Francisco Toledo, the great Mexican artist. And today what we're talking about is Francisco Toledo's prints, and specifically one of his great prints called The Fountain of Life. You can see in this print you have a toad, what is called sapo in Spanish. And the toad is in front of a maguey plant. And when you look carefully, you'll notice that it's a very feminine piece. The genitalia of the toad has been exposed and exaggerated. Why would Toledo do that? One of the things that he's doing is he's taking this idea of the animal and he's rhyming it with the idea of fertility and also of the idea of Mother Earth, the idea of the goddess. The toad is an animal that actually is very earthy. It inhabits the earth. It tunnels into the earth. The maguey, on the other hand, has a very healing energy that comes from the earth. It has that ethnobotanical quality that a lot of us are aware of from our aloe and whatnot that we put on our wounds and sunburns. It's very essential to the lives of the poor. It's used in the making of homes and reed mats, even drinks and food. Toledo has got the agave and he's got the toad. When he uses this imagery, it's interesting because he's already setting up this dialogue between the animal and the botanical, but he's also situating the idea of fertility and the goddess in imagery that predates European culture. It's ancestral. It is about the sanctity of the earth and of nature. When you come in close on the piece and you look at it carefully, you'll see that the frog, which can be interpreted, the toad rather, that can be interpreted in different ways, has what looks like a tongue that's shooting up vertically into the air. And there is an insect that hovers above the toad's head. That insect has as a backdrop an interesting sort of spiky, very phallic looking formation, which I think is actually the spike from one of these agaves. You know, when they're blooming and they shoot this sort of spine up into the air. But as you come in and you look carefully at that insect, what you realize is that toad is not just swallowing the insect, but the insect itself is the Virgin Mary from the Christian Church. He's actually made a saint out of that insect. That's very interesting. I think what Toledo is doing there is he's taking the idea of the toad, and I think he's identifying it with indigenous culture. And I think he's saying that, first of all, he's acknowledging the church by putting the Virgin in there. But he's saying the church couldn't subjugate the indigenous population. That energy that represented the great indigenous cultures is still alive in the world and coexistent and still strong. When you move beyond the content of the work and you start to look at the way the work is actually made, and I was amazed to see this. I'd actually owned this particular piece for a number of years. And until recently, I saw a catalog from a museum show in Washington, D.C. of Toledo's work. And he had 6 or 7 different proofs, different states of the same piece that I own that he had made reworking this plate. And in it, you could see all of these different variations that Toledo made on this fascinating print. Francisco Toledo was one of the major printmakers of the last half century. And this piece, which he worked on for perhaps a month or more, he told me there was no acid in the plate. I worked on it till I couldn't work on it anymore. This is a perfect example of the way in which a great artist engages with printmaking and making something that is absolutely unique in its imagery and at the same time formally powerful in its handling of the medium. If you'd like to know more about the work of Francisco Toledo, please visit our website, www.latinamericanmasters.com, and you'll find more information on the artist. Thank you.